Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7, live from our studio here at Adesawe in Accra. Coming up for the next 30 minutes, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo describes as dangerous comments by the former President John Dramani Mahama, suggesting that the NDC government will balance out the judges at the Supreme Court. Details of that and war has been ongoing at the Bar Conference, currently ongoing in Cape Coast for you in a jiffy. Also, the Electoral Commission has defended its decision to conduct the upcoming limited voter registration exclusively at its district offices. We have details. And later this afternoon, the team of investigators from the Minerals Commission and the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, have returned to the explosion scene at Shamar District in the Western region, which currently has left 5 people dead. And later, we'll bring you an update of the police securing an injunction to stop the minorities Occupy Bank of Ghana protest, which is expected to take off tomorrow. Will it actually happen? Details of that and many more coming up for the next 30 minutes. Stay with us. Let's hear from you. Let's know what you think about the stories we have for you this afternoon, and we'll be happy to share it with the rest of the world. We're taking a quick trip to the Western region to get the latest regarding the unfortunate development that left 5 people dead, an explosion of some minerals and some devices used for mining, which exploded over the weekend. Some Ghanaians and Chinese have been counted among the dead. So this afternoon, we are going to the site where the investigators, we are told, are back to conduct further investigation to get further details of what has gone on. At least 5 people were killed and several others injured following an explosion at the STA at Sam Quarry Mine on Sunday. Some workers believed to be Chinese and Ghanaians were burnt beyond recognition, while others, including the managing director of the company, are still missing. The blast caused extensive damage to other property in the area, and the explosion is said to have occurred from an unapproved storage of explosives. Preliminary investigations by the Minerals Commission indicated that the company was operating illegally. In a statement, the Commission disclosed that the firm operated at night to avoid detection. Meanwhile, government has inaugurated a 9-member committee to investigate the circumstances which led to the explosion at the quarry site. And very shortly, we'll try and get our correspondent who is headed to the area to update us on what exactly had gone on. Meanwhile, the Minister of the Western Region, Kwabena Ocheredakon, has been to the site. He was there yesterday. He has actually put together this 9-member committee. We'll be getting details of the persons who make up this committee. But he said, or was the first to say, that the company did not have the right licenses to mine. These were his words.
We are forming a 9-member committee made up of the Western Regional Coordinating Council, which will be chaired by the Chief Director. We are also giving them 3 weeks to present us a full report on the causes of exploration and also to look out for other causes that we need to check in the future. We also want to establish whether the company was up to speed with its own safety guidelines and licensing that they are supposed to go through. And we also would like to know whether the company had authorization to store those explosives. And then we also expect the committee to give us a recommendation to guard against future occurrences.
And that's the voice of the Western Regional Minister giving us an update on the 9-member committee that has been put together to investigate the cause and death of the explosion at the mining site in the Western region. Our correspondent will be also updating us shortly. But what exactly led to this? We are told that from what information we've gathered from the Mining Commission, they said that amongst other things, this company did not have the necessary permit to even mine. However, a number of times they've been there, they realized that the company had been undertaking some activities, and they only drew their attention to the fact that these activities they were undertaking had not been permitted, so they should stop. The site of explosion was for a residential facility, and they did not know that they even had those explosives there at the site. And the indication they got was that that place had just been earmarked for the workers who will be in that area to reside in. So first point of concern would be, why do you have these kinds of explosives at the residential dwelling of citizens or individuals, or in this case, the workers? The company were also told that they only worked at night because they wanted to be not to be seen by the officers who had come around a number of times for inspection. So the Minerals Commission, in their statement, however, implicated themselves by saying that they had been to the site for inspection and saw some illegalities that were ongoing, but only drew the attention of the company to it, that this is not right, stop it. They go on to state that all the facilities, including the light vehicles and equipment close to the residential structure on site, were destroyed, and 5 persons are confirmed to have been dead. Several others are said to be injured and are receiving treatment at the Sekondi Takoradi Government Hospital. The administrator of the enterprise informed the inspectors that the company was working at night ostensibly to prevent them from being noticed by the inspectors of the commission and the local task force comprising the police and the members of the Sand Winners Enquiry Association. A routine monitoring visit by the inspectors from the Takoradi office to the site revealed that the enterprise was engaged in site cleaning and preparatory works had been conducted and was being run. Some machines were being run and equipment on site without the approval of the commission. Long story short, in the concluding part of the statement that was signed by the manager of corporate affairs of the Minerals Commission, it said that the activity of the enterprise was illegal. The commission wishes to remind the media and the public that the Inspectorate Division is committed to ensuring that all quarry sites are licensed and all the requisite approvals and permits are obtained before operations are undertaken. So let's speak to our correspondent now, Parkojo Peters, who has actually gone back to site to get the latest. Parkojo, good afternoon. Thank you for your time. Yesterday, you gave indications that some persons were receiving treatment. We know right now that the security agencies are part of a committee that has been set up. What do you know in terms of arrests, if any has been done, and what is currently ongoing at the site?
Yeah, Martin, in terms of arrests, we just had an interview with the Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Agency, Kwabena Kokofu. He has called for the arrest of the owner of this very quarry site. According to what they told journalists, they are operating illegally. They are checked. They have not been permitted to operate. So he has immediately called for the arrest of the owner. We understand the owner is around, and he is also inquiring how they were able to indulge Chinese nationals into the operation per what they've checked from their registration. This place is owned by a Ghanaian, so they don't know how the Chinese came in. So he has immediately arrested, instructed for the arrest of the owner. As you speak, I'm still at the site. I've seen some Chinese nationals around. What I'm gathering is that they are from the Chinese embassy, according to one of the guys who came with them. So I'm trying to do my investigation to find out why they are here and what they've also gathered so far.
Right, I'm also sure that they may be there to mourn with their colleagues who've passed. If you're able to speak to them, we'll be happy to know what their thoughts are on this unfortunate development. But also, talk to us about the committee that has been set up by the minister. What really is their mandate?
Yeah, the minister has instructed the committee to come out with their findings within 3 weeks. And part of their mandate would be to ascertain whether the company had the right to operate in the first place. Then also whether they have the right to store explosives and other things. And again, to come out with proposals which will mitigate future occurrences of such explosions.
Right. And maybe finally, before, we know that the Minerals Commission in their statement said that this company did not have the right licenses to mine. But in your earlier submissions, did you get the feeling that they were already mining, or they were now just preparing and putting things in place to commence the mining? What have some of the citizens who live around the area been telling you?
Yeah, Martin, according to my investigations, they have been working for some time now, and this was confirmed by the chief executive of the Minerals Commission. According to him, his men were here a few months ago, and they came and saw the company in operation. So they instructed them to stop the operation. In fact, they closed down the place, according to the Minerals Commission board. So they are perceiving that was the main reason why maybe the company was operating in the night, because their activities was illegal. They were operating at the blind side of authorities. So that was the reason why they were even operating at night.
Akojo Peters, thank you so much for your time and updates from the unfortunate blast scene in the Western region, in Shama district specifically, where 5 people have died, Ghanaians and Chinese combined. So in subsequent bulletins, we will update you on what's going on there. From the Western region, let's go to the Central region, Cape Coast specifically, where President Akufo-Addo has been saying a number of things, including the fact that he will not set aside lay down procedures in dealing with appointees in suspected corruption allegations. Speaking during the 23rd Ghana Bar Association annual conference, the president hit back at the clearing agent tag put on him, insisting that none of his appointees have ever been found culpable of any of the allegations. Let's listen to President Akufo-Addo.
I am not aware of any government in the Fourth Republic subjecting so many of its officials to such investigations and inquiries. At the same time, several officials of the previous Mahama administration, such as William Temi, had decided to remain elsewhere and Eugene Afro the infamous $496 million NC scandal, been tried and convicted for various corruption-related offenses. Several others, including Dr. Aseidu, former CEO of Global, the Honorable Cassia Force, the minority leader in Parliament, are standing trial as we speak. None of the accountability institutions of state, including the new Office of Special Prosecutor, have ever indicated any pressure from the executive over their investigation. There are some who refuse to accept my method of proceeding. They have characterized me as a clearing agent. Because for them, the mayor.
And apologies for the quality of the audio there, but the current president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, speaking at the bar conference currently ongoing in the central regional capital of Cape Coast. So he also took a dig at the former president, John Dramani Mahama, who had suggested that the next NDC government will balance out the justices of the Supreme Court, amongst others. So let's speak to Eric Mawenaigbeta, my colleague who's been at the conference. He joined us on the phone. Eric, good afternoon. Thank you for your time. What exactly was the response of the current president, Nana Akufo-Addo, to the fact that, or the allegations, accusations leveled against him, that he's packed the Supreme Court with NPP lawyers?
Well, it was an allegation that he quite flatly rejected and described the insinuation or even the thought as dangerous to the country's democracy and the highest form of attack on the country's judiciary. Those were the express words of the president when he took to the podium to address the 23rd Bar Conference, where he, amongst many things, suggested that it cannot be the case that he's packing the judiciary with members of the NPP or perceived NPP judges. He believes that such commentary does not bode well for someone he described as a perennial flag bearer of the NDC, and believes that it is enough grounds or enough basis upon which Ghanaians from election 2024 must reject the NDC in its entirety, because they pose a dangerous precedent for the country's democracy. It's a comment that's been backed by the Attorney General Godfrey Yeboah-Dame and the President of the Ghana Bar Association, Ba Echampong, who all took turns to address the 23rd Bar Conference, where they sought to suggest that the attack on the judiciary by the NDC in its most recent event cannot be countenanced and does not bode well for the country's democracy. Arthur.
All right, Eric Managbeta, thank you for that update from the Central Regional Capital, Cape Coast, for the 23rd Bar Association Conference, where the President and the Attorney General and the Chief Justice have all been speaking on a number of issues regarding the judiciary of the country. In subsequent bulletins will get you to appreciate the perspectives being shared by all these individuals. You're still listening to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. We are going on to some other stories related strongly to politics, because the Electoral Commission says the upcoming limited voters registration will proceed as planned. The EC will, from tomorrow, the 12th of September, begin to register new voters onto the electoral roll ahead of the December 19 district level elections. The exercise, according to the electoral management body, will take place only at its district offices across the country. But the decision has incurred the displeasure of some political parties and individuals. At least 3 suits are currently pending both at the Supreme Court and the High Court, all seeking to stop the Electoral Commission from carrying out the exercise as planned. Lawyers of applicants have indicated their resolve to cite the EC for contempt should they disregard the injunction application. But the EC says the exercise will proceed nonetheless. Let's listen to Deputy Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Bosman Asari, who earlier today spoke to my colleague Roland Walker on New Day.
Because of time constraints and also in our ability to strengthen the integrity of the register, we decided that the registration must take place at the district office of the Electoral Commission for 21 days, including weekends. We concede, and we know that some places are very far away from the district office of the Electoral Commission. And these places are scattered in all parts of the country. You go to Eastern region, in the Afam Plains area, you go to Upper West, they are scattered in Asante, in Greater Accra, in every part of our country. And when we did the analysis, we noticed that about 80% of all the districts, we wouldn't be having problems with distance and other associated challenges. But for the very few, we are going to have challenges. But what the Electoral Commission is saying is that we concede that this is a problem, that we have 21 days. And we think that as a civic responsibility, since all of us are interested in the strengthening of our democracy, people should take this particular advantage, and within the 21 days, including the weekends, they should be able to go to our offices and register. And in the worst case scenario, if they are not able to do it, in 2024, we are going to have it extended for over 7 months. The registration will be a continuous one for 6-7 months in our district offices. So we expect that people should take advantage of this one so that they take part in the district level election. But if they are not, next year the commission is going to do it ahead of the 2024 election.
All right. So that's the voice of Deputy Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Bosman Asari. Let's go to the phone lines now and engage Ni Pakpo Samoa Ado, who is lawyer for one of the private citizens who have sued the Electoral Commission on similar grounds to what the 5 political parties are suing the EC for. Counsel, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon.
I'm sure you've been following the EC's decision, or what some will describe their adamant posturing that they will still go ahead irrespective of these suits. First of all, we know that the time of the first hearing of your case is later next month, I should think. But as it stands, the EC says it will still go ahead. What are your initial thoughts on this?
I don't think that Mr. Bosman has consulted his legal department before speaking to you. And I don't think that he said he acknowledged that he has been served with an injunction, and yet he will still go ahead and conduct the limited registration. I don't think so. But be that as it may, let me reiterate the position of the law. The law is clear. And that was what happened when an injunction was served on the Electoral Commission when Dr. Dufour took the NDC to court. The EC held on until that motion was withdrawn. The position of the law is clear. If Mr. Bosman and his other commissioners decide that despite the fact that they've been served with a human rights application and a motion on notice for injunction, they proceed to go ahead with the limited registration exercise, the only option we would have is to file a contempt application tomorrow in the court. It's a very simple thing. You do not have knowledge of a pending court action and decide to do the very thing that the court action is seeking to prevent you from doing. It is contempt simpliciter. And so I believe that perhaps Mr. Bosman Asari, and I don't know, did you ask him directly whether he has been served with the motion for injunction? Did you ask him that?
That was actually put to him, but it was more general that some persons were in disagreement and had actually filed cases in court.
Ask him specifically whether or not the EC has been served with a court process from Tema. Whether or not he has been served, that's the most fundamental issue. If he has been served, then he should elect to go on. Then we will cite him for contempt tomorrow. It's a very simple matter. He cannot subvert the court process when he has been served. It's a very simple matter. He himself, in his own statement, admits what we have complained about, what my client is complaining about. The distances, the long distances between the registration centers and the residences of most of the persons who are qualified to register on the electoral roll. This is a constitutional right. It is not at the whims and caprices of Mr. Bosman.
Right.
The persons who have gone to court are exercising a constitutional right. And it is not for Mr. Bosman to decide whether or not to respect a constitutional process which injuncts him from proceeding until the injunction has been heard.
One point he makes is that if people are unable to register within this period, there will be an extension.
Not for him. Listen, when he was engaged by political parties, by civil society organizations and others, he and his EC have stubbornly stuck on to the fact that they will proceed. Persons who are affected have been elected to go to court. It is not for Mr. Bosman to sit in his office after being served with court processes and decide which ones he will respect and which ones he will not respect.
Right.
That is why I said he is better off going to his legal department for legal advice. If he wants to proceed, we are waiting. I want to see him being bold to say that tomorrow he will open any of the electoral centers for registration purposes.
Okay.
And you will hear from us.
Counsel, we are grateful for your time and thank you so much for speaking to us on 3FM 92.7. Ni Pakpo Samoa Ado is a private legal practitioner and lawyer for one of the two citizens who have also sued the Electoral Commission ahead of the limited voter registration exercise expected to take off tomorrow. So we will see how all of this will play out, especially with less than 24 hours for that exercise to begin. You're still listening to 3FM 92.7. This is the Midday News coming live from our studio here at Desawe in Accra. And one of the headlines we have for you this afternoon has to do with the Ghana Police Service securing an injunction to prevent the NDC minorities' decision to occupy the Bank of Ghana offices, which is also scheduled to take off tomorrow, the 12th of September. The minority was supposed to embark on the demonstration 2 weeks ago, demanding the resignation of the central bank governor and his two deputies after he superintended over what has now become a 60 billion Ghana cedi loss to the Bank of Ghana. The minority have also accused him of spending over $250 million on the construction of the headquarters, of a new headquarters for the central bank, and which is also currently ongoing. And many say that it is an affront to the current economic situation in the country. The leadership of the minority and the Accra Regional Police Command have met a number of times. And as we speak, a new court injunction has been secured by the police over the matter. So first of all, let's listen to some of the key highlights that have come out of the meeting We have Kofi Amaboa, who is the deputy minority leader in parliament. He has also been speaking to the media.
But tell us, where are the limits of the security zone? So we can end our protest at those limits. The police service of Ghana, the regional police command, could not tell us where the limits are. We have even made compromise and suggested, okay, since the Bank of Ghana is the security zone and you couldn't even tell us the limits, can we end even close to that area? We even proposed the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum. Guess what? The police will not tell us the limits, but they are saying that they are where they are. It is very, very clear to us.
They walked out of the meeting and came back.
They walked out, which was very clear that they had to go and listen to some instructions from somewhere. Came back and said that, oh, well, we are not changing our position. Go to the Independence Square. It is very clear to us. We've spent more than 3 hours today. It's very.
So it's been a marathon meeting between the minority in parliament and the Ghana Police Service. Now let's listen to Bernard Mona, who is also joining the minority in this protest.
The regional command has wasted our 2.5 hours here because they have to take instructions from above. And I think that this is the height of a breakdown in our institutions in this nation. That the regional police commander cannot take a decision to tell the people where the security zone of the Bank of Ghana ends. We, on our part, has amended our route. We will change to start from Obra Square and go through the Adabraka, go through the Ministry Police headquarters, and then come all the way to come and terminate at the Bank of Ghana. They say they have a problem because the Bank of Ghana is a security zone. So we have asked them, where is the end of the security threats to the Bank of Ghana so that we can terminate them? The regional commander has gone up and down, up and down. Now you are telling us that you don't even agree on the date for the protestation. I cannot waste my time in such a meeting.
And that is the voice of Bernard Mona, who is part of the minority grouping that met with the police service regarding their protest that they are insisting they still will be embarking on, although the police has secured an injunction. So Bernard Mona represents Arise Ghana, the civil society group, also in disagreement with the EC's decision to go ahead with the limited voter registration. No, the Bank of Ghana issue. A number of issues confusing you now. But let's speak to Komla Kluche, who is a parliamentary correspondent and has been keeping a close eye on this. Komla, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. The minority and Bernard Mona are saying that their 3 hours have been wasted in that meeting with the police. How so? Could they not come to any agreement or compromise at all?
Yes. So, Martin, well, I mean, the cause of it is that it does appear that the NDC minority leadership and the Ghana Police Service have not come to any conclusion or agreement of the sort regarding the planned demonstration for tomorrow. What it is that the minority is accusing the service of doing everything to thwart the efforts of them to have the demonstration done tomorrow. The deputy minority leader, Kofi Boy, speaking to the media a short while ago, had said that they had.
All right, we seem to have lost the connection to Komla Kluche, our correspondent there, but thank you very much, Komla Kluche. So on our website, 3news.com, you get details of all these stories and more. And that's how we bring the bulletin to an end. My name is Martin Aseidu Dartey. Up next is the latest in the world of business with Michael Ogbodu.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Business Daily. Coming up, Ghana Revenue Authority cautions importers and shipping lines against the use of fake trade documents to evade tax or risk sanctions. Also, rising fears of hikes in cost of borrowing as government's treasury bill nears 32% of our subscription. Will bring you the details. Plus, government cautioned against defaulting in interest payments after successful completion of domestic debt exchange program. We'll hear from former finance minister. My name is Michael Obodu. We have the details coming up shortly. Well, thank you for staying with us, and straight into our first story, as the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority has issued a stern warning to clearing agents, shipping lines and importers in the country who falsify information on trade documents to desist from such acts or face the full rigors of the law. This comes on the back of some intelligence work by the division that revealed that 2 agents and importers were heavily engaged in such activities at the Tema port. Commissioner of Customs at the GRA, Alhaji Aseidu Idisa, granted an interview in this report. Revealed that the goods were intercepted and physically examined. The physical examination results indicated that the descriptions of the goods on the bill of entry were different from the physical goods found in the container. The audit revealed that some of the imports declared by the identified companies were misdescribed, misclassified, and undervalued for the purpose of paying lower customs duties and taxes.
The actual descriptions of the consignment were footwears. What we found were footwears, bags, that's belts, underwear, galvanized pipes, etc. But they were all entered as knapsack sprayers. Subsequent to that revelation, management tasked internal audit and the post-clearance audit unit to do further investigations into our system, especially on those 2 importers and their agents. And subsequent to that, we had 23 bill of entries which had earlier been entered within the same period and which had also been misdescribed as the same knapsack sprayers.
The authority added that it would scrutinize documents from the corporates from previous years for more anomalies.
We are equally expanding the investigation to cover, 6 years earlier, because we have realized that, and other companies, because it may not be the only companies who are doing that. And there's a possibility of prosecuting all those involved. And we want to give a warning to everybody that you cannot hide. Whatever happens, it will come out. And those who are into that practice, some of them can come out even, it's always, they can come out and own up, and we'll see what we'll do.
That was Commissioner of Customs at the Ghana Revenue Authority, Alhaji Aseidu Idisa, ending that report. Now, away from that, there are rising fears of hiking cost of borrowing amidst increasing treasury bill rates nearing 32%. At the latest auction by the Bank of Ghana, government's treasury bills were oversubscribed, and yet interest rates still inched up, stirring up worry among market watchers. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more.
The latest auction results for treasury bills showed an oversubscription of about 13% of government's targets. At the end of the auction, government accepted bids totaling about 2.94 billion cedis against its target of about 2.6 billion cedis, with a chunk of the bids from the 91-day bill. About 2.2 billion was tendered for the 91-day bill, of which about 2.2 billion cedis was accepted. For the 182-day bill, about 322.5 million was tendered, but government accepted about 289 million cedis of the bids. And for the 1-year bill, however, all bids tendered were accepted, realizing for government about 415.8 million cedis. Despite numerous concerns by market watchers, further reiterated by Ghana Association of Banks, interest rates continue to soar, with yields on the 364-day bill currently at 31.97% from 31.65% recorded last week. Interest rates on the 182-day bill soared marginally by 0.4%, and the 91-day bill also saw an increase to 27.78% from the 27.36% recorded last week. There are growing fears that the rate might exceed the 30% range, hitting about 40% or more by the end of the year. And experts are warning it will have dire implications on cost of borrowing for individuals and institutions.
Well, that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Moving on, government has been cautioned against defaulting in interest payments going forward after a successful completion of the domestic debt exchange program. Last week, government announced the settlement of alternative offer to pension fund holders, as well as announced the results of its successful US dollar-denominated bonds exchange and the cocoa bills debt exchange. It is against this backdrop that the former Finance Minister Dartey is urging the government to make progress with the external debt exchange before the second review of the International Monetary Fund program.
By the time of the review, we should be making progress on the second leg, which is the external debt exchange. So to put the domestic debt exchange behind us, it's a good thing. But remember, it doesn't promise our ability to pay any interest that would agree and to pay any principal that would be paid, going forward. That's why one is waiting for the review, because the mid-year budget is going to see what the World Bank, African Development Bank, and others are going to bring on board, right, in addition to the 600 million, to give us a broader picture of total wherewithal. That is going to, benefit that's going to come to the government, to tackle the challenges. If they are substantive because they have and also front-loaded, then it could definitely make some impact. But to front-load, it means that the back-loading is leaner.
That was former Finance Minister Dartey. Now, rural banks have expressed worry over a hard time getting people to pay back the monies they borrowed. This is as a result of the current economic challenges as well as the impact of the domestic debt exchange program. Board Chairman of Fiaseman Rural Bank, Dr. Anthony Sapon, made this known at the Chartered Institute of Credit Management Ghana Credit Excellence Award organized in Accra.
Well, there are a lot of concern, knowing very well that with all the happening, it's almost always difficult to chase for people to pay loans and the like, and we had to put in more. That means that you would have to spend a bit more in following up on people, try to run out on people so as to reduce whatever issues there is, so as to reduce your loss levels. And so, yes, that has been the major challenge for us.
That was Board Chairman of Fiaseman Rural Bank, Dr. Anthony Sapon. Now, household spending is expected to reach 107.8 billion cedis in 2023, higher than the 101.9 billion recorded in 2019. According to Fitch Solutions' latest report, DAB Ghana Consumer Outlook, spending will expand to 112.1 billion cedis in 2024.
Lower economic growth, rising levels of dissatisfaction with government policy, and interest rate hikes. According to Fitch Solutions, stubbornly high levels of inflation and fiscal consolidation policies will weigh on real purchasing power gains for more consumers in Ghana. It added that its forecast for consumer spending growth in the country over 2023 and 2024 is in line with its country risk team's forecast that economic growth will decelerate to 3% year-on-year in 2023 before rising to 3.7% over 2024. Inflation, it says, has become a major headwind to consumers in Ghana, and it is expected that it will remain elevated second half of 2023. The UK-based firm said interest rate hikes are pushing up household debt repayment costs, whilst the depreciating cedi is making consumer goods imports more expensive. It argued that the high levels of inflation, slower economic growth, rising levels of dissatisfaction with government policy, and interest rate hikes are all contributing to a downbeat Ghanaian consumer.
Well, that was a 3 Business News Desk report, and that will be all for Business Daily. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. My name is Michael Obodu. Thank you for listening. Up next is Black Rasta. As always, please stay safe.